We are live. Welcome to the Round Ball Project. I'm your host, Neil Simons, the Warm Up Podcast here once again. And we've got a special guest. We've got Peter Oglos, a fantastic supporter of the podcast, joining us to discuss everything our favorite Greek team, Greek Super League 2 team, Xanthi FC. Joining him is obviously Cameron Wiper to discuss everything Australian football. Welcome, Peter, to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be on.
You got a very crisp mic quality there. It's fantastic to see when our guests have amazing quality. But I thought I'll just sort of set it off. Just some background information on Xanthi. How did these Australian players get transferred to Xanthi, and why a specific Greek Super League 2 club?
So I guess it all started with Bill Pappas. So last year, Bill Pappas, he went out and he bought Xanthi FC, and he bought it in collaboration. So he owns Sydney Olympic FC, NPL New South Wales side, very popular. He owns it in collaboration with Damon Hanlon, who he also now co-owns or has an financial involvement with Xanthi FC. So they've taken involvement of Xanthi FC, and they've obviously hired on Tony Popovic from Perth Glory and previous A-League. And they're basically they want to build an Australian kind of little hub, little zone in Europe, and just have that little spot. The way they described it, I know Bill Pappas, because he spoke to the Greek Herald, he spoke a lot about, he kind of wanted to make, I guess, a little spot where he wanted to bring a lot of the Greek young players and make it a big training spot. But he also mentioned he wanted to, I guess, make it a place that Australians can come to Europe, and I guess have that little starting spot, because it is difficult, as a player. I know a lot of NPL clubs like Sydney Olympic have a deal with Schalke FC, Bundesliga club. I know another one has with Dortmund. I think Marconi has.
Marconi have it with Dortmund, yeah.
Yeah. So it's obviously, it helps that build into Europe, and it helps those players get in, and I guess this Xanthi team will help. And obviously they hired on some big players. They got Brillanti, they got Matthew German, Australian player, and it's just bringing those Australian talents in.
And I guess obviously after many postponements, the season finally got underway a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
If you listen to this Simon Hill's podcast with Zlatko Kalac, who's actually one of the goalkeeping. Is he the goalkeeping coach? I think he is. He obviously spoke about how the season keeps getting delayed, but we're finally here. They've had 3 games so far. They had one.
One got cancelled.
One got cancelled. There we go. Please describe to us sort of what tangent they're sort of going on at the moment.
At the moment, it's interesting. So, from my point of view, they have a strong attack. They've got Citrovopoulos, who's their left winger, is killing it for the squad. Just absolutely insane. As far as Australian players, Brillanti on his first match, I'd say incredible way to start the season. He got a goal, and just you could see the change he made from the squad. Just to be built from the back, he just effectively went up. Matthew German as well. He had a solid start, he's centre back starting. He didn't start the first game actually, but he started the next 2 games, so he obviously made a good impression. But look, I think it obviously isn't a great way to start. They've had 2 draws and they've had 1 win. Ideally, you want to be winning every match, but doesn't always happen. But I think they definitely have potential. I'm not sure if you guys watched this game this morning. It was at 12:30 in the morning, so probably not. But Brillanti wasn't in the squad, and you could definitely feel there was a bit of a lack in far of bringing the side up and just kind of bringing that attacking force. I thought, German had an okay game, but a lot of the defense did suffer a little bit. There was a lot of just missed passes, a lot of just not getting where they're going, and they looked a bit confused, the team today. It was a bit disappointing. They did end up in a draw, but I think where they really need is they just need a solid midfield to bring that up. The defense, I think their left back and right back need to be coming up more. They're just hanging too far back, and they're getting high pressured this morning and even game before. The high pressure comes and they just lose it. They just panic. And I think that their midfields kind of need just to be helping. But I think they have potential to go to first season. Actually, when Bill Pappas bought, it's interesting because a lot of the times when you buy a new club, you like the incentive is we want to get promoted. We want a thing. Bill Pappas never kind of said that from the beginning. He was always, the goal isn't to get promoted, it's to build the squad, it's to build their reputation in Greece, which I thought was an interesting way to kind of say that. But I think they have potential to get promoted, but it's not going to come easy. They definitely need to put some hard work in.
Cameron, you take the field, mate.
So you obviously Xanthi there has been quite a key player, and Yeoman has come in and out of the team. What about the other players that are involved? Callum Elliott and Paul Izzo, for example, and the Popovic brothers, of course.
Yeah, well, so Callum Elliott and so all three of those players haven't started. They haven't actually played yet. It's a bit disappointing, I think, with Paul Izzo, because actually when he was announced, I was so happy. I rated him as a keeper. He was a really great keeper, but their current keeper, Bento, I don't remember his first name, but he's just been killing it, and it's hard when a goalkeeper.
I thought he was injured though. Is that right? Or he went to hospital a couple of weeks ago? Is that right?
Who, sorry?
Paul Izzo. I believe he was in hospital a couple of weeks ago.
That's possibly why.
Yeah. I believe he's injured, but yeah, Callum Elliott probably injured. I don't know. I've got no clue.
Yeah. Well, here Paul Izzo has been just left out, which also I think the Xanthi FC Twitter's a bit off, because I was looking at their lineup and it was Paul Izzo, Berlanti, German. I was like, oh sweet, you go into the game. Izzo's not even in the subs, and anyway, Berlanti wasn't in the squad. It was a bit of a chaos there. I was a bit confused, but yeah, look, Callum Elliott and Popovic as well. They've been on the subs, but they haven't got any time. I think it'll be. It's interesting the way Popovic. I'm not sure as well if Berlanti's out injured, because he wasn't in the squad today and he wasn't in the subs, so I'm not sure what's happened there. But look, with Callum Elliott and with Popovic, I guess time will tell. I think. I don't know if they might wait till they start to get their midfield and attack just in order until they start subbing them on. But yeah, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And also, is it a similar sort of setup with Tony Popovic's teams? Like 5 and then 2 midfielders, private back, 2 midfielders, 2 wingers, and a central forward. Is it the same sort of formation?
Yeah. So what was I saying? So yeah, it's like the 4 centre backs, 2 midfielders. You got your wingers. You got it's basically the same, which I think is doing well. When I watched this morning and I watched the game before, the cam, because when you have that formation, the cam has to have a lot of involvement, because they're the centre in the whole. They're with the defensive midfielders, they're with the wingers, they're with the strikers. They're the centre of all that. So if the cam isn't doing well, you're not going to do well. And I think the first game, he was all right. He wasn't the best, but I think this morning he picked up pretty well. But yeah, I think the formation's fine personally, but I think it's just utilizing those players and and really getting the best out of where those players are as well. When I was watching this morning, I was watching some of the right hand side was a bit lost at times. It was very chaotic. The Greek league as well. It's very very aggressive compared to the Australian league. There was probably about 6 yellow cards this morning. Lots. No offense to the Greeks, but lots of diving as well. It's a very interesting league. I think we're about to watch here Joshua Berlanti's goal. Excellent setup here.
Yeah, I think the thing with Xanthi is that obviously Pappas has come out and said directly that we're not looking to get promoted. And you'd think for a club that has never been relegated from the Greek Super League that they would have high aspirations to get promoted immediately back in their first season in the second division. But especially with the firepower that they've got, keep in mind Josh Brillante, he signed for Fiorentina and played 90 minutes for them in the Serie A game, or he definitely played senior football for them. I think it's just a matter of how can you maximize your investment on these players? Because Matthew Yerman is definitely not cheap. He had offers in the A-League. I'm sure he had offers in the A-League and overseas as well, possibly in the Middle East and in Asia. But for someone like Gabi Popovic and Christian Popovic, is it in their best interest to develop themselves in a European environment like Xanthi? And we saw how much the perceived nepotism with Perth Glory led to, I guess, Popovic being scrutinized for his performances and chastised. But in terms of their promotion aspirations this season, do you see them getting up?
That's the question, isn't it? If they keep playing the way they do now, I don't see them going up. If they can build it and they can work a bit stronger, I think they have the potential to. If they keep going at the rate they are, I don't see it. As sad as that is for me to say, that's my personal thought. But look, even as well, you mentioned, I think they should be using those players like Callianelli, and they should be using those players like Tony Popovic. You want that team to be, from an Australian point of view, you want to be looking at Greece. If you're a young player, if you want to get ticket into Europe, and you're saying they're giving players like Callianelli, Popovic a try, if they give me an offer, I'm going to take it. If you're in Australia and you're seeing half the season, 3/4 of the season go by, and Popovic has made one game, you're not going to be attracted to it. You want to make it an attractive place, that team, not only the league. So I think it comes down to how they play, the choices the coach makes on who he gets to play.
Sweet. Cameron, have you got any more questions? Please fire away.
Yeah, just one more. So you said that you don't think they're going to go up. Who are their biggest rivals promotion this season? Who's like a shoo-in to go up ahead of them?
Well, look, Apollo and Larissa, they had a tough first draw, to be honest. Apollo and Larissa is actually quite a good side. But look, it's pretty competitive. They were actually, before even the game this morning, they were top of the league. And obviously just on goal difference. But it's hard to tell. But no, I'm not really too sure, to be honest. It's close up top.
Well, I mean, there's only been 3-4 games played in the whole league, so I think it's very difficult to ascertain who would be the teams who would be there. But Xanthi currently sit fifth with a game in hand on the teams above them. But they're undefeated, and they're definitely heading pretty well at the moment. You'd hope with the firepower that they have, obviously Josh Brillante and obviously Matthew Yerman, and Izzo being the three sort of marquee names who have all represented Australia on a youth or senior level. I think it's really up to them to see this season out and hopefully get promoted. But thank you, Peter, for your valuable contributions today. Obviously, Xanthi's FC, it's considering we can't really see a lot of those games live, and I mean, it's very difficult for us to wake up and watch those fixtures. So to have someone so dedicated to the side, watching them every week and keeping up to pace with all developments there is fantastic. And that's it for me.
I would like to point out as well, you can watch almost every game of Xanthi using ERT. It's free to air. You can watch live and you can watch the replays. So everyone's always happy to tune if you're in Australia and you want to watch some Aussies.
So you're not sponsored by them, are you? Right?
No. Just for any Australians who want to. Any Australians you want to watch in Greece? I'm
But
not
please,
sponsored.
please feel free
sponsor
to
me.
sponsor us. That'd be great.
Please sponsor us.
Sponsor us. Come on, not
Please
you.
sponsor us.
Stop that. Nah, but thank you so
Please
much,
sponsor Greg
Peter.
Harold. Wait, man.
Thanks so much for joining the program, and hopefully we'll get you soon. Hopefully when there's more than just 3 games being played this season.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, look to you later in the season, and let me know if you need chat about Sydney Olympic FC. I'll be writing about them every week for the Greek Herald. So
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and hopefully a national
guys.
second division aspirant as well. Thank you
Yeah.
very much, Peter, and we'll catch you guys soon. Cheers.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's some interesting chat there, Cameron. But I think moving more into the general news this week in Australian football, our golden boy Daniel Arzani has got a confirmed move to AGF Al House. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly. He joined Zach Duncan and Alex Gersbach there as well. So very interesting career tangent he's going on. Kalach this week on the podcast last week said that he may have an attitude problem. I'm not sure if that's true, but when you do get gassed up that much as a spicy, 18, 19-year-old coming into the World Cup squad 3 years ago, this move probably will serve him well for game time, you'd hope.
Yeah, it's all about game time for Arzani at the moment. Its immediate focus has to be making the Olympic squad, if that goes ahead. So yeah, he's got 6 months to prove to Arnold that he is as competitive as the other young players, of which there are a load throughout Australia and actually in Europe that are getting regular matches now. Even in Australia, we've seen because of the pandemic that they're getting more opportunities. So Arzani has to step up. He can't be there on merit of being at the World Cup. So if he plays, it's good. If he doesn't play, it could be the end for him, really.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be the end for him. I think really, if this move doesn't work out for him, I would like to think that a move to the A-League beckons on a loan basis. You never know what can happen. I mean, guys like Aaron Boy came back to Australia. Look where he is now. I mean, he's in China, but he was in the Premier League before. So, a cause for optimism there. Another player secured a huge move this week. Matty Ryan. He's gone all the way to Arsenal. He's gone from sort of relegation threat inside to a relegation threat. I'm just joking. He's gone to Brighton. He's gone from Brighton to Arsenal. Arsenal mid-table at the moment, but they'll obviously hopefully push themselves into the higher places of the Premier League. He's second fiddle to obviously Bernd Leno there. But Cameron, is this the best move for Matt Ryan in the stage of his career?
Personally, I've seen that everyone's really hyped up about it. It's his dream as a boyhood Arsenal fan, apparently, that he wanted to be at Arsenal, but I can't see past the fact that he's playing second fiddle and he's good enough to be a starting keeper for most of the teams in the top 5 leagues of Europe, and it's difficult to believe that that's the best move he could have possibly had. I get that it's 6 months loan deal and they'll probably review it at the end of the season, but it's just a bit frustrating that he's not able to play week in, week out. And I think if I remember correctly, he wasn't even playing in the FA Cup. I think it was Leno that started, and obviously they've been knocked out. So when is he going to play, quite frankly?
Europa
is he
League,
going to start sniffing the Europa League? But surely you're in the knockout phase of that competition. If Mikel Arteta's got anything about him, he's going to want to win that. So why would you not start your main keeper there? Obviously, Ryan is good enough to be there, but based on the fact that Leno started the FA Cup game, I'm not convinced that he's going to be playing. Hopefully he does, but if he doesn't, then it's kind of 6 months wasted other than just learning from the Arsenal coaches. But he's at the sort of age where he's in his peak. Like, this is as good as he's going to get. So I can understand the attraction of it. I can understand why he wants to move, but it doesn't really make sense from a footballing perspective.
Yeah, well, I think for Matt, at this stage in his career, I personally didn't think a Premier League move would be the one that he would get, especially in this environment. If Bernd Leno has a cataclysmic failure this season and manages to just drop out of the first team, which I don't think will happen, Matt Ryan will get a gig. But I don't see him getting game time in the Premier League. Possibly in the Europa League, you'd like to think so, but even when it comes to the semi-finals, possibly or the final, I don't see him getting game time at all. And it sort of hinges on the fact that if he manages to get a move away from Brighton permanently, it can't be to a club where he plays second fiddle. Let's say Arsenal make this permanent. Is this going to serve Matt Ryan long term? No, I don't think it will. I mean, he'll be like a Brad Jones in the making, and no disrespect to Brad Jones, but how many games did he get for Liverpool in the time he was there? Not many games. Especially they're at similar ages as well when they were playing for their respective clubs. So I think for Matty, it is up to him to ensure that this move is the best one for him, as he can learn from the experience he has, obviously with Mikel Arteta and the likes and Bernd Leno. He's learning from the best in the business compared to Brighton, and I think I don't see Brighton taking him back in open arms, to be honest. But moving on to positive Premier League news, some more positive Premier League news is Caleb Watts has made his English Premier League debut yesterday against. Oh my God, I literally forgot who they played. Was it West Brom?
It was Arsenal again.
They played Arsenal again. Never mind. Yep. They played Arsenal again. As I thought they played them twice in a row. They did. And yeah, he came off the bench. Southampton undergoing a very big injury crisis, and he slotted right into that lineup, won a free kick on the edge of the box, and made one good cross. I would show the footage, but I'm going to get copyright strike. So, we'll see what happens. And this is from Rob Quiney fan. When Petr Cech was number 2 at Arsenal, he played every game in the Europa League, including the final. Perhaps this is an indication of where Matt Ryan can end up. Yes, that does bode well for Matt Ryan. I do agree with you. But moving on. So Caleb Watts obviously came in, was pretty serviceable in his half an hour of football. What do you think, Cameron?
He looks quite bright, actually. He looks like he fitted in quite well to Premier League football. Seeing it more often, a lot of the young players it's slightly A-League, where a lot of the academy players are coming in to fill in. Obviously, the tricky schedule means that there's lots of injuries and lack of fitness. So Watts is making the best of his opportunities, and he didn't put a foot wrong. Obviously, Southampton didn't win, but that's all he could do. He's made a solid start to his Premier League career.
I think it did look a little bit nervy, which is understandable for you're making your Premier League debut. However, he's possibly a shout for the Oli Roos now. We were thinking that I think Tyrese Francois has been in those squads, and if Caleb Watts is breaking into the Southampton first team, then Francois he's been unused substitute. I would not be surprised if we do see Caleb Watts make this Oli Roos squad for the Olympics if they do even go ahead. So I think there's something that must be addressed in the future, especially for the Oli Roos squad. And we've also got an abundance of A-League talent coming in as well. Mo Torre, we'll talk about later, has been an absolute star, hasn't he?
Yeah, crazy. And there's no better time for him to be making these sort of cameo appearances. He also was playing in the FA Cup. So, and the Southampton are still in it. He'll probably make an appearance in the next round as well. So he's doing it on probably the biggest stage in domestic football in the world. And it's quite tricky for Graham Arnold to ignore him.
Yeah, and I think it's a matter of we'll wait and see what happens. But moving on to our casual A-League previews, we've got a bunch of them this week, about 6 games, a bucket load. But the first game we'll talk about is obviously the Western Sydney versus Newcastle, the second game that they're playing this season. It's been about 5 games that they're already playing the second game, not looking too pretty, although we will hopefully avoid these in the coming weeks. So the Mariners played against the Wanderers last week, and they also they lost that game. But this is obviously the last game that they've played. But the Wanderers, they're top of the table as of last week, and then obviously the Wanderers, then they got taken over by the Mariners. But the Wanderers have struggled for goals in terms of the strikers. Simon Cox hasn't really bagged anything. Neither has Kwame Yeboah. It's come from their wingers and midfielders mostly. But do you think the Wanderers are finally beginning to gel, Cameron?
Yeah, it's promising at the moment. They've played more games than anyone else, I think. Although they had a shaky start at the beginning of the campaign, they're picking it up now, and they can only beat what's in front of them if they go out every week and get those wins on the board. Ultimately they've stopped losing, which seems a bit obvious, but last season and seasons previous they lost. They couldn't really hit a bit of form, and they've got a bit of form now. But every time you think they're about to make that mark on the league, they make a good start to a season, they completely drop off. They keep this up. They've got a game against Newcastle, who are not going to roll over, as we saw in the first game of the season. And obviously, there's still a little bit of animosity between the two clubs. I'm sure the RBB will have prepared something, because obviously it will be in Western Sydney this time. But yeah, they prepared a little tifo last time, and I'm sure it's going to be a cracking game.
Well, hopefully no more Newey tears, but looking really forward to this fixture. I think Valentino Ewell's impressed me immensely for Newcastle, but I think really it's a matter of how can Western Sydney adapt at home, and will the home fans provide them any boost moving forward? I just think I'm very uncertain about Graham Dorrans' position in the team. I just don't think he's meant to be used as a holding midfielder, to be honest. I think put him in an attacking position, see what he can do. But then again, this overseas striker that they're going to supposedly be signing can't be a foreigner, because they've got all their foreign spots used up. So that's the question I have for them. And, Nikolai Muller's not going to score goals for them, as we just saw all the time. So it's about adaptability, and I think once they are able to gel properly, like they have been in recent weeks, we'll be really seeing what they can possibly do for the rest of the season. It's about maintaining their fitness, maintaining sharpness, and I think they've looked pretty sharp in these past few games. Terese's looked pretty sharp as well. It's a matter of time before he gets firing. I think Mark Natter in the middle of the park has looked. In the centre back position has looked very good as well for a 19-year-old. So I'm very optimistic as to what can happen in the coming weeks. But moving on to our next fixture, we've got I think we've got the Newcastle Jets versus Wellington game the other week, where they actually won. But I think we'll just talk about Newcastle briefly here. I mean, Ewell once again okay, and obviously they did. For the first time this season, Newcastle looked under the pump for most of the game. They probably didn't deserve all 3 points here, did they?
Yeah, it was strange, because most of the previous games they've looked really promising, not being able to actually score. But they've gone forward and made a good game of it. In this game's they 2 goals that pretty much came out of nowhere, took Wellington Phoenix by surprise, and then just sat back and defended and relied on Jack Duncan, who just played a blinder, completely outstanding that game. And there was a little bit of arrogance around them. Particularly, I'm sure people have seen Valentino Ewell coming off the pitch, making a mockery of I think it's Cam Devlin's height, and that's something we want to see. There's not a bad thing to.
But yeah, what a story for Ewell. You're coming from South Australia NPL to Bentley Greens, and has gone back to Newcastle. Has been a worthwhile investment for them, and they've also picked up Apostolos Stamatopoulos this week as well. That's a mouthful, but he has signed for Newcastle this week, and they've also confirmed the signing of Luca Pusso as well. So a lot of young players getting opportunities for Newcastle. Ugarkovic is, despite the speculation surrounding his future, has been pretty good for them. It's just a matter of Newcastle holding the defensive line and ensuring that no goals are able to quote-unquote escape through, as we have seen in recent weeks. Newcastle have been better than we expected. They've been very fluid in attack. Craig Deans has clearly spent a lot of time on the training park perfecting the midfield structures and attacking structures. Ewell's role is well defined, and it's been fantastic to see how the spirit that they've had, this fighting spirit that they've had this season, despite sort of being wooden spoon aspirants, these expectations have not been high. So it's been very encouraging to see Newcastle giving it their best shot. I'm going to skip the first half of this game because no one really cares. And I'm going to tell you why. I'll not actually really skip past it. But I'm going to skip past this first half. And here's the second half of the West United versus Perth Glory game. Cameron, you were a huge fan. So I came home. I'm just chilling in my bed. And, cool goal from RB to here. It was okay. Good goal. I didn't think much of it. Equalizer is what it is. What you're about to witness in the next 4 minutes or so is the most outstanding and most horrible defending I've seen in the A-League for quite some time. When Fornaroli put on this flick, it was majestic and something beautiful. But Cameron, how could we have expected this result?
The reason you could have expected it is because both defences, Western United, it's been well documented, they're not brilliant from set pieces, and Perth's defence is incredibly inexperienced. But yeah, it was just a game for the ages. It's every time one team went forward, they scored pretty much. I think I was looking back through the game, and I don't think Reddy made a save for about 15 or 20 minutes because every time Western United went forward, they were clinical. Actually, they were very good going forward, but wasn't helped by the defending, which was a little bit slack at times. And particularly the last goal I take issue with, when Stephen Lustica scored, because you got about 3 or 4 bodies between him and the goal. One of you has got to throw yourself in front of that and make an actual, half decent attempt at blocking it, rather than just standing there. It was just a bit like they gave up as soon as West United got into the final third. It's something that will come with experience, but there wasn't very much. It's like they were surprised that Lustica had a shot, and no one was really coming out to close them down, and they really should have been. And Western United were equally poor from set pieces. I'm certain Radan must have said, look at the set piece that D'Agostino scored from against Adelaide. Do not let this happen. And it happened. And then I think Armiento scored from a set piece as well when the ball just fell in the box.
He did. And
for all the attacking play, there was some really shoddy defending. But it's games like these are going to bring fans in. No one wants to see a 0-0 draw. No one wants to see really good defending unless they're a properly, not a true football fan, but they very much appreciate it. They probably got to be a defender to enjoy watching a 0-0 defensive draw. But I think your casual fan is going to really, if they go to a game and it turns out to be 5-4 like this, they're going to come back next week. They're going to be like, whoa, this was a good use of my time and a good use of my money. I'm getting, 9 goals for my $20 or whatever it is. So, yeah, I think it was a great advertisement for the league. And, yeah, brilliant game. Just really horrible to watch from a Perth perspective.
I think this really typifies their performances this season, I think, for both sides. I think Perth have got all the attacking firepower, but they've obviously, their wing backs, as we spoke before, they've been quite poor. It's a matter of both sides sort of, like, I even saw, I went to the presser today and, Rudan was very, he was very, how to put in the best word, but he was very adamant that there will be firepower in the game coming up against a victory. Not a 5-4, but there'll be. I blame you, hope not. But they will not shut up shop. And he said we only shut up shop after the last goals. That's enough. And he also spoke about having mental toughness as well as a physical toughness. The mental toughness, obviously, after a game like this, you can only imagine how mentally draining it'd be for both sides to go in and play a 5-4 game like this with 7 minutes of stoppage time, not because of injuries, not because of substitution, just pure goals upon goals upon goals. A goal fest it was. And I think for Victory to come into this game when they had a goal fest of their own against the Perth Glory, this is going to be a very interesting thing. And if I just keep going on here about sort of what Victory did, you know, I don't know why Tanner Valapi got an A-League game. So props to him. He did quite well in many stages
Really
today.
well.
In that game, sorry. But this, again, a lapse in concentration from the Victory defense. Centralized, they look okay. Shotton looked very good. Dylan Ryan looks inexperienced. He obviously got brushed off by Motore last week, and more of the same this week as Bruno Fornaroli put in that goal. But for the Victory, these inconsistent performances within halves is extremely disappointing. They were barely present against Adelaide United. Against Perth Glory in the first half, they looked extremely good. Second half, they only really came into their own in the last 30 minutes. And I think, Jake Bremer, the fact that he's able to thrive in these environments is brilliant.
Yeah. On the Victory, Dylan Ryan looked really good. By all of the performances on the pitch, I thought Dylan Ryan was the best. He kept Fornaroli really quiet, and actually for the goal, wasn't Dylan Ryan that was marking Fornaroli in the end.
I realized it was Butterfield anyway.
Yeah, Dylan Ryan was very, very impressive, and that was one Victory player that stood out for me because he kept Fornaroli on the leash, and every single ball that Perth Glory lumped forward, he would head away, and the one that he wasn't there for, Perth scored from. So yeah, Dylan Ryan was superb. It's painful to see Jake Brimmer doing so well, but he kind of deserves it. He was a highly talented player, and I've got absolutely no idea what Josh Rawlins is thinking trying to defend the corner with his hand. That was
it's
pretty poor.
It's the inexperience. It's the inexperience, and I think for someone like Jake Brimmer, it was stated during the week that after the game against Adelaide, Brebs gave him a hard time, and rightly so. I just think it's going to be a huge confidence boost for the Victory to get this win and take it into this game against Western United. A piece will be coming out for myself tomorrow about Western United's sort of promotion and sort of the geographical divide that there is now between Melbourne Victory and Western United. This game is going to be a very interesting and fiery fixture. I expect the best to be brought out of both sides. It's a matter of time before we expect Victory to get a win against Western United. I reckon the last game we'll speak about is this one against obviously Sydney FC coming up against MacArthur. A lot of talk during the week about how they think it's charged $50 for away tickets for MacArthur, obviously, but this is a bit ridiculous, the fact that there was no agreement put in place. But sticking to the football, MacArthur obviously been pretty inconsistent. They were very lucky to get 3 points against Wellington the other week. But how are they traveling?
Drew against Wellington.
Sorry, I meant the drew. I slip on my words. Anyway, I have knowledge. It's just a slip on my words. Anyway, go on, Cameron. You take the reign.
So Sydney FC they looked all right against Central Coast Mariners, but they just couldn't finish their chances, and that's kind of what the Mariners have been sort of riding on. But all credit to them for taking their chances and forcing the mistake for the first goal, and then Aaron Kwal is hitting a purple patch at the moment. He's been outstanding. So yeah, apparently Central Coast Mariners are going to be up there at the end of the season on the basis of this. This is a Sydney team that every team in the league will be fearing normally, and they have done for the last 5 years. If you are going to Sydney, you are pretty much wanting to just set up your shop and defend and see if you can come away with a point. But Mariners went forward.
How good is Daniel Bowman to have this awareness, though? Just like in general.
That's a superb ball. That's
It's
incredible.
it's superb, and I just feel like Sydney
Put it in a
FC,
really dangerous area, and Sydney couldn't cope with it. And
I just feel like, I'm not sure if keeping someone like Ryan McGowan out of the team is the best thing for them. I mean, Ben Warland's been okay. It's an own goal he scored there. I mean, not much of an own goal, but regardless, this is just defensively horrible. Why wasn't Al Qual marked there? You literally had like 3 seconds to have a shot there. And I think it really, for Sydney FC, they obviously miss Popo. They miss that firepower that they've relied on for every single campaign they've had previously. The Fondra in the past, the Bobo, Mark Yanko, Del Piero to an extent. They just need that striker they can rely on, because they've the outlet for goals. You're not going to get Callum Newman scoring 40-yard screamers and Josh Braden scoring 45-yard free kicks every week, and it's going to be very difficult for them to find their zen, if you will. They've only scored 2 goals from open play this season. So they've only scored 1 goal from open play this season in the 3 games. So that's really, really something that they need to focus on going into this game against MacArthur, who are not an easy opposition to face, by the way.
Yeah, if Sydney thought Central Coast Mariners made it difficult for them, they've got another thing coming for MacArthur. You saw how they reacted to Daniel Booman going forward and getting into the box and making those crosses in for someone like Alu Kual. Alu Kual is, no disrespect to him, but he's a young talent. He's only been in the league for about a couple of games. You're now going up to face Matt Derbyshire, who, we sort of slated him a little bit in the previous pods, but he came out and
he got a
really good performance and he scored a goal. So yeah, it's going to be a very, very tricky game for Sydney. And MacArthur, if they wanted a statement game to prove that they can be competitive this year, this is the one for them. I think we might have said it last week.
Well, this is the game for them, really. I think this is the one that counts.
After all of the build-up with the ticket prices, they've got a lot to prove in this game. And if they wanted a better opportunity to stick one to a pretty riled up City rival, this is the best chance for them. And I'm really excited for this game. I think outside of the Western United Melbourne Victory game, this is going to be a very high quality game.
Yeah.
And it's going to be very, very exciting.
End-to-end attacking football. That's what I expect. That's what you get with MacArthur as well. I mean, hopefully Tommy Orr can finally start. Not sure if Lachlan Rose had the best of games against Newcastle and obviously against Wellington, but this is going to be a very interesting fixture, and I think it sort of hampers back to this notion of rivalries. These new expansion sides have come into the competition. There hasn't been a distinct rivalry established for West United and for MacArthur yet. And I think we have 2 games this weekend where 2 expansion sides are playing 2 of the most established teams in the competition, Victory and Sydney. And I think hopefully if there's some animosity that could be drawn up in the coming days. Victory have already had it. Sydney have already had it. Some more social media antics, please, Western United. That'd be great. More and just this. Hopefully, the geographical nature of the Sydney FC versus MacArthur game can hopefully bring a fiery contest to the table.
Yeah, and it would also be nice to see some social media content from MacArthur as well.
That's very true. That's very true as well.
Western United. It's going to be very exciting. These are 2 games that, they're going to decide how the league shapes up over the course of the season. Western United and Melbourne Victory are both going to be high on confidence after they've done really well to actually come out on top in their games. And MacArthur, they got away with one against Wellington. They're sort of getting there as a team. They've got a little bit of an identity, and Sydney have a point to prove. They've got to show that their game against Central Coast Mariners was just a one-off and that they need to be back to their dominant best. So these are 4 teams that are going to be firing on all cylinders, and it's going to be 2 games that are absolutely unbelievable, I'd imagine.
Unbelievable fixtures coming up, and make sure you tune into these fixtures. It's going to be something to watch. 2 very watchable times as well. Back to back. We've actually got a triple header on Saturday, which is going to be pretty good to see. One of the first triple headers we've had this season. Not big, not too big on the 9:15 kickoff though. For the Brisbane Adelaide game, but hey,
I prefer it.
well, I mean, of course you are, but it is what it is. Now you know what it feels like to be in Australia and watching the Premier League or any European competition. Hey, it is what it is. But Cameron, it's been an absolute pleasure to grace the public with you once again, and obviously just all our viewers. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be providing you with more content. Hopefully, we'll get a player on coming very soon, and hopefully, we can finally get the Monday show coming up. My uni registration has been all completed. Everything's been done. I'm very keen, and hopefully, we can get this Monday show sorted. Any last words, Cameron?
Yeah. Once again, I'd like to...
not last. I mean, fine. I'm not going to kill you. Final words, not last. Anyway.
Yeah. Once again, thank you to Pete Oglos for joining us for Xanthi. Yeah, it's good to hear about them. Sorry. And yeah, I'm really excited again for the fixtures, and particularly the 2 games that we mentioned.
Yeah, and I think perhaps we'll adopt the sort of marquee fixture format in the coming weeks. It'll possibly increase our viewership and the listenership as well. But the Roundball Project podcast, recorded podcast, will return this week as well. We're working on a big guest, and I think next week we'll actually talk about the Ferenc Puskás statue dilemma as well, which is I'm not sure if you've been following that, Cameron, but that is very. Sorry.
I think his name's Tabulka or something. He said it's being sorted and it's being cleaned and replymphed.
Yep, it's being cleaned and replymphed. So we'll hopefully get someone who saw that today, really brought the conversation to light in the sort of mainstream. But Martin Pakula, shout outs to Martin Pakula. He's smashing it. But yeah, that's all from us. Yeah, and I guess we'll leave it there. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.